Joe Budden is a well-known rapper, podcaster, and media personality who has made a name for himself in the entertainment industry. Recently, he appeared on the AMP app owned by Amazon to discuss the recent drama surrounding Adam22's No Jumper podcast.
How could you expect, I guess what I'm asking, how could you expect to not have any problems at your network, which is hip hop based for the most part, would you say? Or at least the people you surrounded yourself with are hip hop based. And then you start bringing in Richard Spencer. Can you talk to me about the decision to bring Richard Spencer on your show, on your Tuesday show, with no black people present?
It wasn't on the Tuesday show, but it was. I arranged a debate between Destiny, who's like a very popular left-wing commentator, and Richard Spencer. And I really didn't think, like, in terms of the other hosts, I didn't think this would be an issue, primarily because of the fact that, AD had been the one who wanted to have us interview Nick Fuentes, or we did like a debate, I guess, quote unquote, at a certain point a couple months ago. But I guess he felt different about the Richard Spencer thing or whatever. And the other criticism I saw from Van Lathan was just that the debate was a little bit too much of a debate, that we didn't really take time to dig into the creation of the alt-right and racist statements that Richard Spencer's made in the past and everything, because his narrative that he's pushing now is that he's a changed man and he doesn't, harbor ill will towards whoever. And in the context of a debate, I didn't think it would be that controversial for us to platform it.
So, Adam, I admire the business that you've built, and I don't think any idiot could do it. Would you say that you've handled that? One of the criticisms were that you handled Richard Spencer with kid gloves.
I definitely think the thing I should have done is I should have pulled back at a certain point, and I should have tried to really zero in on any kind of negative statements about black people or anything racist in general. Because it seemed like we focused more on the like liberal conservative binary and less on the perception of him or the reality of him having, inspired a lot of hate over the years.
So yes, you acknowledge that one of those criticisms are that you handled him with kid gloves.
Yeah, it probably should have been more of an interview. It probably should have spent more time on, let's go over some of the major things that you've been associated with that are kind of, or very. And I definitely failed to a certain extent by not spending more time on that, given my audience and how a lot of people in my audience probably would have wanted to hear more about all that.
And by kid gloves, I mean you handled him with a certain care. That's what I'm attempting to say. On my podcast, one of my criticisms of you was, as a white man occupying space in the hip hop space, that you should probably handle more of these rappers and black people with care as you report on them. You don't see that parallel?
No, I see it for sure, but it's also like when I'm interviewing a rapper, it feels more.
Do you not see how it would look away that you handle a known with more care than you do some of our greatest entertainers?
Well, number one, I kind of resent the idea that I'm like so insanely hard on most rappers, because I interview rappers all the time where I avoid huge chunks of, controversial that I could be asking them just out of respect, because I know they've talked about it on other platforms, etc. My only thing I could say to defend the tone of the Richard Spencer debate was that he didn't say anything racist during the debate necessarily, or at least I didn't really pick up on anything too weird.
That's awesome.
Huh?
That's awesome.
Because that would have made, in the context of a debate, it just didn't really feel like I should have gone through the greatest hits of like, these are the most messed up things you've ever done or whatever. I wish I had, because it definitely would have helped to cushion some of the criticism we got from doing that interview. But also, like, from my perspective, doing content, like, I want to push at the edges of what's considered acceptable. And Richard Spencer is somebody who's basically been blacklisted from the media for the last like 6 years or so. And the idea that I was going to get to put somebody who I consider probably one of the best minds on the left on camera with this guy, I mean, that was just, that to me, that was like an incredible opportunity. And I tried to pay Van Lathan to be on the podcast with me. I tried to holler at a few different people, but generally speaking, nobody was really feeling it.
Before we delve into the discussion, it's important to provide some background on Joe Budden. Budden first rose to fame in the early 2000s as a rapper, releasing several successful albums and singles. He later transitioned into media, hosting several popular podcasts and radio shows, including the Joe Budden Podcast and State of the Culture. Budden is known for his outspoken personality and willingness to speak his mind on controversial topics. No Jumper is a popular podcast hosted by Adam22, where he interviews various celebrities, musicians, and influencers. The podcast has gained a large following due to its raw, unfiltered approach and Adam22's willingness to ask tough questions. However, the podcast has also been criticized for promoting controversial guests and for not including diverse perspectives in its discussions. One of the most controversial moments in No Jumper's history occurred when Adam22 interviewed Richard Spencer, a well-known not good person. The interview received widespread backlash from the public, with many accusing Adam22 of giving a platform to bad speech. Additionally, the panel did not include any black person, leading to accusations of a lack of diversity. In his discussion on the AMP app, Joe Budden addressed these issues and offered his thoughts on the controversy. He criticized Adam22 for not being more careful in selecting his guests and for not considering the impact of his actions. Budden also expressed concern over the lack of diversity on the panel and the importance of including a range of perspectives in these discussions. The lack of diversity on No Jumper's panel during the Richard Spencer interview highlights a larger issue in media and entertainment. It is crucial to include diverse perspectives and voices in these discussions to ensure that all viewpoints are heard and represented. This is especially important when discussing topics related to race, as it is essential to have the perspectives of people of color to fully understand the issue. Media personalities have a responsibility to their audience and to society to promote positive messages and perspectives. This includes being mindful of the guests they invite onto their shows and the messages they promote. In the case of No Jumper, the decision to interview Richard Spencer without including any black person on the panel showed a lack of responsibility and understanding of the impact of their actions. Accountability is crucial in situations like these, where media personalities make decisions that have a harmful impact on society. It is important to hold individuals and organizations accountable for their actions and to demand that they take responsibility for the harm they have caused. This can include public apologies, changes in behavior, and making efforts to rectify the harm caused. Cultural sensitivity is crucial in media and entertainment, especially when discussing topics related to race and identity. Media personalities need to be aware of the cultural context surrounding the issues they discuss and the impact their words and actions can have on different communities. This includes being mindful of the guests they invite onto their shows and the perspectives they represent. In the aftermath of the Richard Spencer interview, Adam22 and No Jumper faced widespread criticism and backlash. However, it is important to recognize that individuals and organizations can learn and grow from their mistakes. It is important to give people the opportunity to learn from their mistakes and to make efforts to rectify the harm they have caused.